you can get the same uncompromising truth you've come to expect from the Final Call newspaper on all your connected devices. Subscribe to the Final Call Digital Edition today. Go to subscribe.finalcalldigital.com.
Assalamu alaikum. We are back once again for another edition of Behind the Final Call cover story. Go ahead and make sure you reach out to your family, your friends, your loved ones, because we, of course, are back once again. Don't want to miss this one. So this week, the cover on the paper is Hell Erupts, Desperation Spreads as Conflict in Ukraine Grows, Crisis in Europe mounts, and I'm going to bring it up bigger on my screen because I am having problems reading this. So, right here. So, Desolation Spreads as Conflict in Ukraine Grows, Crisis in Europe mounts, and ultimatums fly between Russia and America and her allies. Economic warfare, nuclear threats, anger, uncertainty, and fear spreads. Where will it end? Once again, thank you, Brother Naba. As I always say, assalamu alaikum. Why this cover story?
Well, walaikum salam, Brother Troy. This is probably right now the most compelling event that we are seeing happening. And it is compelling because there's so many different forces and factors involved, if you will. And so what we're looking at, of course, Russia has invaded Ukraine. And in the last few days, intensified its war against Ukraine, working to get into the capital and really striking very viciously in terms of bombings and the killings of civilians, causing over now 2 million refugees to flee Ukraine into different parts of Europe. And of course, what this does, it sets up this conflict between America and Russia, and the fear of a third world war if Russia and Ukraine actually get into a shooting situation, right? Because at this point, you have NATO, America, and the Western countries on the one hand, and you have Russia on the other, right? So at this point, the literal war, the shooting war, the hot war, is literally between Ukraine and Russia, with America, her Western allies, and NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is the Western European democracies that are allied with America, are together. Ukraine is not a member of NATO, but Ukraine sits on the border of Russia, and it sits in Europe. It would like to be part of that alliance. Ukraine's desire to be part of that alliance is part of the reason why this conflict exists in the first place, because Russia does not want any expansion of NATO closer to their borders in terms of bases set up, military installations, et cetera, et cetera. So now this conflict has escalated, where now you have global sanctions against Russia. Now you have Russia and China, or Russia trying to get China to stand with her. So these are very serious times, along with these images of Caucasian people fleeing, the images of Caucasian women dying after childbirth. This is all very disconcerting. So the question becomes, at what point will America be forced to act in ways beyond what she's doing? Right now, she's just playing a supportive role. And then there are also wider implications of this war. Russia and Ukraine account for about 30% of the world's wheat supply. So if you go to finalcall.com, I hope it's up there, Brother Troy, or if you read our article, it's very interesting. The article talks about how this war striking that area could have a broader impact on bread and people's ability to get bread and the price of foods, not just in Ukraine and Russia, but talking about parts of Africa, parts of Asia, countries like Iran that literally do business. And this is where they get their wheat. Bread, of course, a staple. So the question becomes now, could there be food riots as the cost of food grows? Can Ukraine and Russia even harvest the wheat crop? The cost of fertilizer and these different things associated with that crop have already gone up. Oil prices have already gone up. So as you begin to see these different things come into play, right, you begin to see how this is not just a disaster for Ukraine, but now you begin to see these broader ripples of impact. So that's why you should read the final call.
Praise due to Allah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I have to admit, initially, I was really, we're talking the Holy Quran. It says, whenever evil man brings you news, look carefully into it, or else you make a judgment and be sorry for what you did. I may have gotten that last part wrong, but I think that sentiment is definitely it. Is that we have to be careful when you hear this message on what you're hearing, and most of us hearing is just Putin just all of a sudden decided he was just gonna go into the Ukraine.
Well, but that doesn't mean that Putin is a good man. See, we got to be careful. Because what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said at Savior's Day, and this is, I would say, the most important part of our article, and you really need to read it. He said that this war would bring in, that America would be drawn into this war in Europe, and this war would break America's power. It would also destroy Russia. There's in the Holy Quran, there are verses that talk about when Gog and Magog go to war. So this doesn't mean that Mr. Putin is some good person. He's a devil, just like Mr. Biden and his crews are devils. And all of them love making war. But to not talk about realities, right? And deals that were made that were not stuck to, that's important. But we have to be careful not to automatically decide that this devil is not the devil. No, they devils all the way around. And so we have to really look, and I think that is why the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is so important. You look at the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's article this week. Hell erupts. Hell erupts. Let me read this. This is from Hell Erupts, Honorable Elijah Muhammad in this edition of the paper. The angry nations, he's talking about what was referred to at the beginning of the article. Hell erupts, and it begins, why are the nations angry? Who are the nations that are angry at? Who are the nations that are angry at the resurrection of the dead? That's early. And then there's a good portion where he talks about that. But I'm going to skip over that and get to this paragraph. The angry nations refer to white America. Listen to this. Listen. The angry nations refer to white America and Europeans, who are also the enslavers of the black man. Take, for instance, the part that England, Belgium, Germany, France, and Italy have all played in the enslavement of black Africans and black people throughout Africa, Asia, and here in the Americas, North and South America. There is no such thing in the nature of white people as justice and freedom for black people, especially not for blacks in the Western Hemisphere. Now their anger is running them mad, and they are attacking and killing each other. There is no such thing as peace among them, nor can they produce peace for others. The Holy Quran refers to this condition as the kindling up of hell. Chapter 81, verse 12. Never before have you witnessed the evil that is spreading far and wide every hour of the day in America and Europe and England, America being not the first. Listen to this. America being not the first, but the chief enslavers of black people. They dislike the idea of having Allah dispose of their power over the Negro, though they knew this was coming, the loss of their slaves. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is very clear. So I hope we read that. Hell erupts, and it's from the fall of America.
Praise you to Allah.
And it's in the paper right now. Hopefully it's at finalcall.com.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Praise you to Allah. Thank you. Thank you. Once again, that's one of those things that you're going to get an alternative perspective. And actually, I'll be biased. You're going to get the truth when you read the final call.
Well, you're not biased when you bear witness to the truth. You're just being honest. You're not biased.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You're just being honest. Now, people can accept or reject the truth, but our acceptance or rejection doesn't change the truth from being what it is.
Praise you to Allah. Well, you're not going to get this truth anywhere else. You can't expect to get it unless somebody else is maybe reprinting one of our articles or they've been inspired or influenced. But most likely, hey, this is the only place you're going to get it. So make sure that you're getting the latest edition of the Final Call from the brothers in the street, or your digital edition, or you still can get your print edition. I saw somebody earlier ask, can they still get I prefer the hard copy of the Final Call. How do I subscribe to get a hard copy of the paper?
You can call 1-800-1866-602-1230 extension 200. Or if you have any problem,
can you say that number again?
1-866-602-1230 extension 200. You can also call 1-773-602-1230 and extension 200, and you can get a subscription. If you have any problems, please contact me through social media. Contact me either through Twitter at RM Final Call, or contact me through Facebook. If you have a problem getting a paper subscription, we will make sure by Allah's grace that you get it. Okay.
Praise you to Allah. So go ahead and don't wait. You can stay on and continue to watch us, but go ahead and get that subscription taken care of right now.
Yeah, and you can also go to finalcall.com and contact our customer service through the website, or try store.finalcall.com and contact us and let us know that you desire a subscription, and we will absolutely be honored to serve you.
Praise you to Allah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So that's a lot, and actually we could shut it down after that, but we're not. So what we do want to encourage you to do, as Brother Naba lifted the message that was delivered by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Savior's Day address this year, that you want to make sure that if you have not taken the opportunity, that you go and check out the that message, the Swan Song, which you can go and get the message at media.noi.org, or you can, while you're at store.finalcall.com, you can go ahead and buy and purchase the audio, the video, as well as the video of those messages, so that you have it in your personal library, so you can keep that with you. So please make sure that you take the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, Brother Troy, is that we're truly blessed that you can go to finalcall.com. I'm hoping right now. But if you got the physical paper, you can go and you can see the third installment of the Swan Song. So we have been running for 3 consecutive weeks installments of this address that was almost 5 hours. The price of the paper is worth this article by itself.
Absolutely.
Let alone everything else. But it really gives you a very compelling treatment of different aspects of this message from the minister. So we are now on the 3rd installment. So you have the opportunity to take your time and read and study as well as listen. But this is a very profound piece. You just really have to read it. But the minister is talking about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his relationship to this man, and how it is related to his work, his mission, and his ultimate destiny as an extension of the Messiah, who we say the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is. And if you wonder what's that about, that's a good question. Tune in to NOI.org this Sunday at 10 a.m. Central. You can learn all about it. But go to finalcall.com and read about it.
Praise to Allah. Thank you for that. And I've talked to people who've listened to the lecture on multiple occasions already. But it just, as some have said, it just hit a little differently when you're actually able to read the words, and not just see them or hear them.
Yeah.
So,
and it's beautiful to be able to do both, because there's I would say ways that we are communicated with. And when the minister spoke, there was so much in what he said and his words, even some of the asides, because of course we do excerpts, so we don't do every single word in the paper, because it would be a little disconcerting. It is the difference between when I am speaking to you verbally, you get certain clues in my language, you get certain clues in the tone of my voice, you get certain things that are going on with me that's being transmitted to you, where our communication is clear. If I wrote exactly, or if we put exactly in a paper exactly what the minister said, might be a little disconcerting and not as clear. So we try to clearly show a treatment, right? That's why we say excerpts of his words. And then you have the beauty of being able to hear him live in your ear, or to see him. So again, go to store.finalcall.com and get this incredible lecture. Go to finalcall.com and read it. I mean, and look, man, we are really blessed. You can go to finalcall.com right now and read this beautiful lecture, or this beautiful third installation of this lecture for free. Literally for free. Literally for free. Even though it costs us money, right now it's not costing you anything. We're going to have to change that. But we want you to go and take advantage and enjoy, along with our coverage of this thing in Europe, because it is definitely related to what's happening in America. And of course, if you're talking about the power of America being broken, we should ask the question, what does that mean for Black folk?
praise to Allah. Praise to Allah. Another question about what are the office hours for the final call? When can they call?
I believe it's, I would say, you can probably do from about 8 to about 6 but Central Time, but I would say at minimum 9 to 5 Central. But generally we're open a little earlier, but at minimum 9 to 5 Central Time. And again, go to store.finalcall.com and the information should be there as well. But I would say, to keep it safe, either 8 or 9 a.m. starting at as early as 8 or 9 a.m. Central Time.
But don't even wait. Go ahead and just call right now. You don't have to worry.
You got to get, that's right. Call 866-602-1230, extension 200.
Praise to Allah. Thank you for that. We're going to keep it moving. Of course, you already, and we can maybe just quickly go through the paper. Of course, there's an article dealing with fear grows for Syria amid rising violence, deepening humanitarian crisis.
Yeah, we wanted to show that there were other things happening in the world. Syria has been suffering a war for years. The people are dying. There's been such a focus on the humanity of the Ukrainians, who are white Europeans, and we don't have a problem with people's humanity, being shown. But let's be fully appreciative of everyone's humanity. So the Syrians, who have been suffering for years, they've been bombed. Their cities have been destroyed. They've been made refugees. Their children have died. Their women have died. Their men have died. So we wanted to show that there was still that suffering. We did not want to be so distracted by Ukraine that we did not point out there's other suffering in the world. And that suffering deserves to be addressed. And that suffering and that story deserves to be told as well.
Praise.
And again, that's why we had the final call.
Praise to Allah. Thank you for that. And of course, then we can jump right here. Noble Intentions or Damage Control. Rapper Travis Scott launches community-based initiative.
Right. Basically, the rapper Travis Scott, we know that there was this horrible incident in Houston concert. People lost lives, there were injuries. The rapper has now launched a $5 million initiative connected with education and some other things. Go to finalcall.com, read about it, and read about how different people are looking at it and their analysis of what is going on.
Praise to Allah. And of course, you're not going to get that coverage anywhere else the way that we cover it, except from the Final Call newspaper. And of course, our beautiful sister, Sister Charlene Muhammad, the national correspondent out there on the West Coast, is the writer of that article. Keeping it moving, religious civic leader continue push for federal reparations legislation.
Another update on HR 40 at the federal level, seeking reparations. This is the reparations study bill. Again, an attempt to kind of bring in a broader religious coalition, if you will, to support the bill. Something else we think you ought to check out.
Praise due to Allah. Thank you. Keeping it moving. And of course, you see how this beautiful layout of the Final Call newspaper and how you can get that right there, you know, the standard view, or, you know, which gives you the flipping the pages like that, you know. And then we have Black Farmers Debt and Taxes Sharecropping 2.0.
Again, you got to read the article. You know, the Black farmers have been fighting this at least since the 1980s. Basically, there was supposed to have been in January 2021 a guarantee from the Department of Agriculture that it would suspend foreclosures, debt collections, and other negative actions that have hurt borrowers that had certain kinds of loans. And in particular, these loans and the lack of support for Black farmers have been horrible and almost doomed Black farmers. This was supposed to have been a change. It hasn't been a change. White farmers went to court to stop the Black farmers from getting anything. So this story comes back and updates where we are today and asks the question, are we going to get anything? And what is Mr. Biden going to be able to do, since he said he had our back?
Yes, sir. Praise due to Allah. And I see our brother asking, going back to the words. Of course, Brother Lewis is here as usual. We thank you. We thank you for your support as usual. Assalamu alaikum. And Brother Samuel's asking about the book that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan referenced. Is it possible that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is physically alive? I'm not sure if the book is still in print right now.
Well, the book will be. So what you do, stay in touch, send a message to Brother Abdul Rasul Muhammad, our general manager, through the website, or contact him another way, asking him about the book. Keep your eye on store.finalcall.com. Reach out to Brother Abdul Rasul, and he will be able to give you the actual facts on that. But It is in the process.
Praise to Allah. That's why you need to check in, because you're not going to get answers that quick anywhere else. So praise to Allah. So let's keep it rolling. Fresh food, a fresh start in Inglewood.
Man, great story, great pictures by Brother Harun Raja'i. And we got a young sister who we are publishing her photo for the first time. Sister Noor Muhammad, we're publishing a photo of Mayor Lori Lightfoot. This is, incredibly great story, good story about a fresh food market in the heart of Inglewood, Black community here in Chicago. Imam nonprofit worked on this project, and it's basically to help bring fresh food in our communities. Great story by Sister Chantel Muhammad, who wrote it. Actually, Sister Noor, who took the picture of the mayor, is actually her daughter. So you got to read that. Come on, that's a mother-daughter combination. You got to read that. Right. And it's good news. Don't you need some good news?
Man, please. So of course, you go from the good news, but of course, it's two ways to look at this next section that we lift every week. It's not good that there's a program that's in place for the depopulation of our people, or just the depopulation of the planet. But it is good news that you're able to be informed so that you can make the moves and make the adjustments in your life so that you can put yourself and the family and your loved ones in a better position to navigate this reality. So
Absolutely. So we got an article this week by Dr. Ridgely Muhammad Muhammad. As this world unravels, Allah offers us life through his servant. You better just read that. I ain't gonna say nothing else.
If that's not enough,
I ain't gonna say nothing else. You better just read that.
It ain't nothing else you can say.
You better just read that for yourself. I ain't even getting into that, man. Just go on, get the digital edition, go to finalcall.com, get your print edition, read that for yourself.
Praise you a lot. Thank you. So, and we keep on moving, of course, dealing further with depopulation. You can find this section from the Nation of Islam Research Group every week, dealing with Pfizer, forced to release shocking list of vaccine side effects. Hey, we didn't really need this article because we got the guidance and the direction right before it happened from the Criterion lecture from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So if you haven't had the opportunity to listen to that lecture, make sure you do so. And when you do read these articles, all you're gonna be basically be able to do is see the fulfillment and get more detail in many aspects on what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is being fulfilled and being revealed. So praise due to Allah. From the incarcerated to disabled, forced sterilization still a reality. Still connecting with that previous article with dealing with depopulation. We got Iranian official, U.S., the other parties to JCPOA need to show good faith, make necessary decisions. Haven't gotten to that one. Can you give us a little bit about that?
Basically, Iran and the U.S. and some other major nations had a deal, right? And the deal was that Iran would be able to pursue nuclear power for peaceful aims, and essentially there would be inspections and verification. Your former President Trump trashed that agreement. Now that the agreement has been trashed, right? Now you got Mr. Biden and others trying to pull Iran back into the agreement. But the ones who suspended the agreement, America wants preconditions and such. Well, Iran is saying, wait, man, y'all, for lack of a better term, y'all jerked us around once. So before we sign a deal with the devil, well, they didn't say the devil, they might say the great Satan. We need to be clear on some things. So that's one of the things they're talking about. And the other question is, if Mr. Trump gets back in, is the deal just going to be canceled again? So again, we hope that you will just continue to read and pay attention to what's happening on the international scene, because it's also important.
Praise the Lord. And just that's a beautiful thing that you just lifted, is the importance and value that many of us like, well, why do I need to know what's going on across the different parts of the world? We got enough going on in the country that I'm living in. I got to deal with all the stuff that I already got to deal with. Well, I need to know that stuff too. But once again, it goes back to the words that you lifted in terms of looking at that, what's happening across the sea, what's happening across the shores, what's happening across and in different parts of the world, that this world is connected. So those things that are impacting and having an impact outside of this country are definitely coming to the shores of this country, and it's definitely having an impact.
Well, I'll tell you, Brother Troy. We're taught that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, "Watch what you see."
Yes, sir.
Because it will come to America, and so I'm telling you, it's been very compelling for me. There's something about this destruction of Ukraine. Now, I've seen destruction of other cities, but there's something about this destruction of Ukraine that's made me think, is this the level of destruction that we're talking about happening in the United States of America? That level? So when the scripture talks about, if not for God's elect's sake, not a soul would be left alive on the earth. So these signs, and again, brothers and sisters, we really implore you, go back, read our previous coverage of this war in Ukraine, but go back and read our coverage of the minister's address that he did for Savior's Day, where our headline of the paper was "The Final Call: War on the Horizon for America." Farrakhan warns that Swan Song, this was his speech title, Farrakhan warns that Swan Song signals God's impending judgment of the nations of the world. We need to go back and look at that because all of these things are connected. And this is part of continuous coverage of what is happening in the world today. So these are not kind of separate individual things. It is part of a whole. So we need to see this as continuous coverage, and we need to relate what comes after to what came before.
Praise you to Allah. Thank you. And that's the difference. And, and I've lifted this before, is that when you're reading the Final Call newspaper, it's not just separate articles that are kind of just thrown together. Oh, this happened. But there's always, if you look closely, that there's a thread that really brings them together. And it's important that you don't typically find that in a newspaper. So make sure that you take heed to that you read, as you're reading the typical standard news type of articles, that you're reading the guidance from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as well as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because those articles aren't just randomly thrown up and we're like, hey, let's open up Message to the Black Man and let's just pick an article. There's a lot more energy and time spent to it than that.
Yeah, and again, Brother Troy, as we begin to wind down, again, I really want us to read this article from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad this week. I really, really implore us to read that article because it ties our reality, our condition, and our future into events that are really unfolding today. If we understand, and I don't think it's difficult to understand, because he gives us the divine perspective about what is happening. And there's no more precious thing in a time like this than good guidance. Absolutely. And we're being blessed to get that.
Praise you to Allah. So I'm flipping through real quickly. Not that you should, but of course, as I look on the page that precedes the article of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, is you see all of these books. If you don't have all the ones on this bottom right here, right now, the Message to the Black Man, The Fall of America, How to Eat to Live, Our Savior Has Arrived, The Flag of Islam. I mean, we could go on from the book with the Brother Jabril and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Closing the Gap. If you don't have all of these books on your shelf, please make sure that you do. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't have them. As well as, in addition, of course, the study guides, the self-improvement study guides, which I'll make sure I close on that. So I already mentioned the Swan Song Part 3. Make sure that you're digesting and reading that. Beautifully done. So, Brother Naba, is the goal to get through the whole paper, or what's the plan?
Well, I think we can kind of get ready to wrap things up in about the next 6 minutes. I think we covered the. Oh wait, we got a couple.
No, I was referring to the lecture, the Swan Song. So how will that play out in the paper? Because a lot of people have been asking me about, man, how can I get the whole lecture?
It will play out as it plays out.
Got you.
Stay tuned.
Yes, sir. Praise.
Be thankful. Be thankful that Allah is blessing us to present installments where we have the opportunity to actually study various aspects. Praise. You know, so to me, I mean, I'm not calling any shots or making any predictions, but when I look at these installments, to me, it looks like a study guide.
Yes, sir.
So what better thing that could you have then a minister's words, some of them distilled from a 5-hour message, and you can literally sit down and read and study, and you can go through like this week. It's 1, 2, 3. It's only 3 pages. Man, this is beautiful. This is really beautiful. So other things we've got. The life struggle behind prison walls. Great story. The testimony of brother Zachariah Muhammad, one of the believers who was in the clutches of the devil, but who got out and is doing great things and talking about his journey to Islam. We have the articles, of course, Farrakhan the Traveler, unveiling the number 19, How to Live. You got to read that. Then we have 2-page spread. Really hope that you can see this, both in the digital and the physical edition. Open house at Final Call, and you just see the beauty of the believers coming to get knowledge and information. But then let's go right here. Let's go right here. Beautiful tribute to Mother Khadija Farrakhan, who was honored with an award by a brother out of Baltimore on behalf of a Masonic lodge, Eagle Lodge number 8. And you got to really read it. It's a beautiful treatment, beautiful presentation. Then we have another feature, recruiting soldiers and going to war against cancer, in our sister space section, which is for, about, and highlighting the voices, the experiences, the talents, the beauty of women on so many different levels. You got to read that. We got Africa Watch, which gets into Kwame Nkrumah's 1958 All African Peoples Conference and the CIA's opposition to African liberation. We move from there to a great humanitarian effort from the Muslims in New York under the leadership of our great sister, Sister Jana Muhammad, the student regional MGT captain from the Eastern region. Sister Jana led this effort. She worked with Sister Sharon Salam, whose son Yusuf Salam is one of the exonerated 5, wanted to give aid and medical supplies to a village in Conakry, Guinea. And Sister Sharon Salam came to the Muslims for help. Sister Jana, a wonderful regional student MGT captain, meaning she's over the women in the Nation of Islam in that East Coast region in New York. She took it right on, and the Muslims really delivered to help our people there. Then we got a little something, a little focus on the Final Call news team, capturing and sharing the news. And, this is it. This is what we do. Stay tuned. FinalCall.com.
Praise due to Allah, praise due to Allah, praise to do all praise are due to Allah. And that's one of the things, is important, that even though you just zoom past it real quick, is that, in many instances, we don't necessarily see the people behind the scenes, and we don't necessarily know what work and effort it took to actually put together the paper on a weekly basis. But in particular, a big event like this, there's a lot that goes behind it. It's not an easy task, and in many instances, it's a thankless task. So it's always important that when you see some of these people around, send your shouts out, send them some love, okay? And I think that's, as you said, that we've covered it all, or we haven't covered it all. We touched on it all, but make sure that you take the opportunity to look a lot deeper into the paper and go ahead and pass it on to your friends. Make sure you get a subscription and support the brothers that you see out in the community and on the streets. Brother Naba, closing words? I think he may have dropped off. So until next time.
No, I'm not dropped off. Like, share, follow, and subscribe. FinalCall.com.
Praise due to Allah. Until next time, behind the Final Call story. Assalamu alaikum.
Now you can get the same uncompromising truth you've come to expect from the Final Call newspaper on all your connected devices. Subscribe to the Final Call Digital Edition today. Go to subscribe.finalcalldigital.com.
Praise the Lord. Yep, exactly 40 minutes and 54 seconds is what it says right now.
You gonna go straight, yo?